Mira Business FM, your daily guide to the markets, money, and more.
This is Mira Business FM with me, Tim Elliott. It's the morning drive. Now, next, artificial intelligence is transforming the way brands are found, how customers search, and what visibility will mean in the next decade. So, old school keyword stuffing may just be a thing of the past. It was a thing then, maybe it won't be for much longer. Experts now say that the future is all about intent prediction, data-driven content, and AI-enhanced experiences. Question is, what does that mean for business? Now, our next guest is an SEO strategist, an AI innovator. He advises brands navigating the search landscape. Paris Raichura is the founder and CEO of PNDigital, which is a digital performance agency out of the UK. Paris, it's good to meet you.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. I'm going to start with the big picture, if that's okay with you. How exactly AI, this is, again, I'm starting with a huge question. So how is AI changing the fundamentals of SEO, search engine optimization, right now? And I suppose for people that are thinking SEO, what's he talking about? Just explain that to start with as well.
Absolutely. So we'll start with the basics. So SEO is an acronym. Search engine optimization is what it stands for. And ultimately, SEO is a process of getting your website or getting your brand more visible online on search engines such as Google.
Yeah.
So to give you a simple example, you're at home on your computer, and let's just say you're looking for a real estate company in Dubai. You would go onto Google, you would type in, real estate company in Dubai, and then the list of results that you see are the brands that are essentially showing that have worked on their search engine optimization. So the higher up on that list a brand is, the stronger their SEO is, and ultimately it's a driver of business for a company. Helps them bring in more leads, more revenue. Now, with AI coming in, that's really changed the way that people are searching, and it's changed the way that engines are actually looking at what they want from people. So now, as we were talking about, people are going onto platforms like ChatGPT. Google's also got its own AI mode. So I don't know if you're aware, but now when you do a search, when the list of results come up, there's also a tab at the top which says AI on Google. So you can click on that, and that's where obviously the AI search results get generated. So the way that this is now changing is that we're actually starting to have conversations with Google and with these AI engines as if it's a human. And the way that brands need to really look at adapting to this is by answering questions. So SEO is becoming what we're now calling AEO, which is answer engine optimization. And
I've just got to write that down. So answer engine optimization. Okay.
Correct. Or another acronym that is being thrown about is also called GEO, which is generative engine optimization.
Okay.
But ultimately they're the same thing.
Gotcha.
And what brands really need to be focused on now is looking at all of the reasons why customers are going to be buying from them and answering as many questions as possible and building content around those particular topics. And that's going to help that brand stand out and ultimately rank in Google's AI mode and ChatGPT, etc.
Okay, so we're shifting from getting as many keywords in there as you can, so that Google searches for those particular words, you come out top of the list. That's how it used to be. So now we've got intent prediction, really. But off the top of my head, and as a layman, that seems a whole lot harder to do. What does define understanding intent before the search happens? What does that look like?
Absolutely. So up until now, it was more about keyword optimization, which is what customers are searching.
Yeah.
We're now shifting to, like you said, intent-based optimization, which is more related to why the customer's searching.
Okay.
So what these AI engines, ChatGPT, Grok, Google, what they really want to see is they want to understand the motivations behind why somebody is searching. And to put that into an example, I think that's always a lot easier for the kind of people to really understand how this works, is historically, if you are looking at apartments in Dubai Marina, let's just say, one way of ranking for that particular keyword would be creating content and including that particular keyword, apartments in Dubai Marina, on a particular page on your website. I mean, there's a whole load of other things we can do, but just at its simplest form, you would include those particular keywords in the website, and that would be one way that Google can pick it up to help rank that particular page.
Right.
Now that's no longer enough. So now what Google and AI engines, what they want to see is they want questions to be answered. So if somebody's typing in apartments in Dubai Marina, what they would like to see on a page is not just a keyword of apartments in Dubai Marina. They want to see everything that a customer could potentially ask around that. So that could be creating content on that page that is around price points in Dubai Marina, payment plans for developers.
Okay.
Ones that have better ratings, developers that have better ratings, price point comparisons between Dubai Marina and downtown. So now it's a lot more important to look at all the reasons why somebody is going to search for that term and almost build an answer engine for your own website, which is going to help to really provide that customer with everything that they want so that they can make a purchase. And that's basically what the AI engines want to see now.
Okay, it is a whole lot more intelligent, isn't it? So I guess, I mean, your job in the agency is to talk people in, to tell people, offer them the benefits of being better, talk people into doing it. A business is still relying on the old formula, keywords, backlinks, that kind of thing. It's clearly not enough to do that.
It depends on where you want to rank as well. Traditionally, keywords and backlinks, they're still very important for SEO. And if you do want to rank on Google's main page, that is still very important, and you do need to do that. Again, for people that don't know, for example, what a backlink is, I'll just quickly explain it. So a backlink is when you create a piece of content on another website that would then link back to your own company website. That is a signal of trust by Google, so kind of like a vote of confidence. The more of those backlinks that you have pointing towards your website and the better quality of those backlinks you have, that's one of the ways that you can rank higher in Google search. So these are still very important because a lot of people, 89% of market share from traditional search is still happening via Google. It's just that if we want to start looking at how you're going to rank on Google's AI mode and ChatGPT and other AI engines, like you said, Tim, that's no longer enough. We need to now be looking at really that valuable content that you can provide to answer customer questions. And you need to start building that into your website, building that into your overall brand and your brand's SEO if you really want to start, being ahead of the curve and standing out from your competition. Because there are a lot more people now that are using AI mode. A lot more people are being a lot more conversational in nature when they're speaking to Google. Or ChatGPT, as you and I have done ourselves. And if you really want to position your brand to stand out from the crowd, you have to be looking at how you can make your brand appear within the AI search results, not just traditional search. The more of that you can do, the more real estate you've got on Google, the more opportunity you have to grow your business, to make your brand stand out, to increase your company's revenue.
Do you know what was interesting there? You said previously you were talking about how we have conversations with AI, we have conversations with Google much more. And my first thought was, no, I don't. And then I realized, actually, you are so right, because I've been talking to, I've got Mrs. Google on Google Maps, and that's what I call her. She drives me insane. But I've been talking to her for years now, it seems like. But also, it's when we use Google to search, for example, it has become a lot more, I guess, personalized, a lot more kind of personable in the way we search. I used to be, as you say, apartment Dubai Marina, and you just kind of fumble around until you found. But now it would be, I'd like a 2-bedroom apartment in Dubai Marina. I need it to have this. I want this. I'd like a sea view. I want to check it against, as you said, downtown, for example. We've really changed the way we interact with technology, I think. And that's a very kind of AI-driven process, it seems to me.
It is, yeah. And I think, because people are making it more conversational, you also don't realize you're getting into a conversation until you're actually in that conversation. And
you really
look back
don't.
at your history, because ultimately
right.
what these platforms are doing, whether it's Google's AI or whether it's ChatGPT or the other ones, not only will you put in a particular search, but it almost makes you make that search more detailed down the line, because it'll also throw out options at the end of whatever it's provided you. So if you're looking at, family holiday to Greece, for example, at the end of that search, when it's told you, say, a list of hotels that you potentially could stay at, it's also going to throw out, would you like me to look at some other destinations that are close to Dubai that would also be suitable for your family? And then all of a sudden, okay, why not? You might end up looking at that. And before you know it, you're kind of having this conversation, and your actual search that you initially typed in, which was a holiday to Greece, you might end up making a completely different purchase based on the information that you've then received back, which historically you wouldn't have done, because your focus would have been on holidays to Greece, and you'd be looking at pricing, you'd be looking at packages. But now, with the questions that, AI is throwing back at you, all of a sudden that search you've initially put could be completely different to what you intended to in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting, are we being manipulated? Who knows? But
this is the point, isn't it? That there's so much information available. But yeah, I mean, you're describing the rabbit hole, the wormhole, aren't you? There that you can easily run down. But now you're much more driven in a particular direction. It's such an interesting point. It's potato, I suppose. Look, we hear the phrase AI enhanced user experience a lot. Could you explain how user experience directly impacts search performance?
Absolutely, yeah. There's kind of two parts when you're running campaigns online. So as a company, if you're looking to grow, you're looking to bring in more revenue, more business, one way of doing that is through good marketing. So essentially advertising your business where it needs to be.
Yep.
The other part is actually getting those customers to buy from you. So the first part, if we relate this to online marketing and SEO, it's getting your website listed so that you are visible to your customers.
Right.
Once somebody clicks on your website, they're then on your website, and then it's the website's job. So you as a brand, your job to get that customer to convert. So think of your website as making it the best salesperson possible. When somebody lands on the website, we want to make sure that they stay on that website as long as possible to make a purchase. And one of the ranking factors on Google is, time spent on a website. If they see that people are just bouncing off your website within, half a second, it's going to essentially not work in your favor, because they're thinking that people aren't really valuing what you're providing on the site. So there's a lot of things that you can do to enhance your website experience. There's a lot of analytics tools and heat maps. You can understand where people are going on your site, why people are going to certain pages. And when you start to understand this information and you start to really data mine this information, you can really make a lot more strategic decisions for the business, because if you can see, there's tools that you can implement on your website where you can see what pages they're landing on. So if you can see that, let's just take an e-commerce store, for example, selling clothing. If you can see that a lot of customers are landing on this particular color of dress, for example, and that seems to be more popular, but they're not purchasing it for whatever reason, and then you start introducing a bit of a discount on that particular dress, and then you start seeing that that's driving purchases. You can get a lot more understanding about what you need to put on your website, not only to keep people on there, but to get them to convert. So my advice to companies, we work with a lot of companies that we help do this for, would be that think of your website as the best salesperson possible. Give people a reason to stay on, whether that's through everybody to some extent is price driven, whether it's through some sort of price discounts. Focus on the trust of your website. So if there's any accreditations, customer reviews, any type of social proof that you can include on your website, it's going to give that customer a lot more of a reason to buy. And if you can create some sort of urgency, we see it all the time. If you look at people that offer free consultations, if you include particular call to actions, such as, free consultation today, just creating that sense of urgency. But when you put all of these things together, you data mine, you understand where people are going on the website, why they're bouncing off, why they're staying longer, you can then start to implement small tweaks to the website, which can, really improve that conversion rate. And and help you to not only satisfy your customers better, but also give them a reason to come back to you as opposed to going to the competition.
That's so interesting. I mean, the website just used to be, it was a storefront. It seems like not that long ago. It's now the best salesman that you could possibly have as well. So that seems like a step jump to me. If you're a small business and you're listening to this, maybe watching this at the moment, small businesses have limited resources. Where do you start with AI-driven SEO?
That's a great question. A lot of companies want to implement AI, but they just don't know how. It is a buzzword. People are talking about AI.
You feel like you should. It's like,
Yeah.
I've got to shoehorn AI into this conversation in some way, into my business in some way.
Bit of, I think there's a bit of FOMO with AI, right? If you don't have it, you're kind of missing out. But don't overdo it. Start with the basics. So, as we were talking about before, about being that answer engine for your customers, you can use tools like ChatGPT to look at really what your customers would be asking you as a business, understanding why they're buying from you, and just start to develop pieces of content around those particular topics. Be that answer for your customer. And you can even, there is a correlation between social signals and ranking on AI as well. So pushing that type of content out on your LinkedIn, on your socials, is going to help to elevate your brand on Google and ChatGPT as well. So I would say at the very basic level, use ChatGPT as an idea generation tool to really answer customer questions that they would be asking you as a business as to why they would buy from you. And then you can also look at other tools. There's particular tools you can look at. For example, there's a tool called Ahrefs and SEMrush. And ultimately, these are softwares that you can use, which basically would just give you a lot of insight into where your website is currently ranking on Google, what your competitors are doing. They've also got an AI section where you can look at, how your competitors are ranking on AI. So if you just use these little tools, you can just get a better understanding of what you need to do as a business to start to elevate it so that you can, compete more effectively. And these are all, very cost-efficient ways. They don't really cost much to do.
Okay. We were supposed to be talking to you last week. I know you were early. It's good to see that you're back, in the land of living, as it were, Paris. But one of the questions I wanted to ask you then, I'll ask it to you now, is what are the risks of over-automation? Could you rely too heavily on AI, and could that harm trust in your brand, or maybe the authenticity of your brand? So what I did is I asked AI for an answer to this. So I just typed this into Google. So relying too heavily on AI can indeed harm a brand's authenticity and trust. Over-reliance on AI systems may lead to a decline in human decision-making skills, making employees less engaged in critical thinking and problem solving. And this shift can result in a workforce that is less adaptable and less capable of handling situations that require human insight. And then there was a load more stuff on top of that got very technical, far too much for my mere human brain. But it does make the point quite well, I think, that the point of AI, and I wonder what you think about this, but the point is to harness AI to make it work for you. And there's a balance to be struck, is the point I'm trying to make.
There is, absolutely. There's a balance to be struck. The way that I like to explain this would be through an example in another industry. So let's say you've got an artist, and the artist has painted this beautiful painting. And every day the artist starts to add to that painting. They make a few touches here, they make a few touches there. 1 or 2 weeks down the line, the artist looks back at the painting and it's completely different to what their original vision was. Yeah. And it's almost got to the point where they've overdone it and they've thought, it's kind of, lost what I wanted to portray. And if I relate this to companies and brands out there, this is exactly what can happen with AI. If you're relying on it too much, you can actually lose the voice of your brand, because ultimately as a business, what you really want to do is, whether it's a product business or a service business, you want to connect with your customers. And when you're connecting with your customers, there has to be that human element of some form of relationship building, even if they don't speak to a person, relationship building with your brand, trust with that brand. And I think if you're just relying too much on AI and overdoing it, you can actually lose the voice of your brand. You can lose the vision of the business to the point where it almost does become a little bit more robotic, which is perhaps where you wouldn't want to go. So I think you really need to have a human and combine that with AI, analyze that data through the use of AI, and use AI as a supporting tool, but don't lose focus by trying to just completely overdo AI for the sake of overdoing it, because you can lose the voice of your own brand, and that's just going to create a big disconnect between, you know, your company and your customers.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. So if you do have FOMO that you're not utilizing, harnessing AI as much, be careful, because you could actually miss out if you do use it too much. There's a catch-22 going on in there somewhere. So humans do have a place in this kind of new AI-powered SEO ecosystem. If I was to say to you, look 3 to 5 years ahead, which in tech terms is centuries, it seems, almost. Right. What will visibility mean? Will traditional search exist in the same form? How do you end? This is the crystal ball question. It's not really fair, but what would you anticipate?
I anticipate that search will continue to evolve like it has done over the years, from a point of becoming increasingly conversational, becoming increasingly personalized, and potentially to the point where we'll have AI assistants actually doing the searches for us, as opposed to us humans doing the searches. How that looks, I don't know. But I feel that it could get to a point, and likely will get to a point, where you would have to type in something very basic, and from what you type in, everything could be done for you, including making a purchase. I feel that your details would be stored in some area where the AI would have access to this. And if you want to, for example, book a holiday to Greece, it would be able to do that for you without you having to have such a deep conversation yourself with it. It would just be done through AI assistants, knowing who you are, knowing your personality, knowing almost about your life, where you could type one thing in, and the last point would be something like, here's everything, would you like me to go ahead and make a purchase? And you would just click yes, and that would all be done seamlessly for you. Because I think one of the potential threats that we have as humans is we're putting a lot of trust in AI, and we're putting a lot of trust in the answers that it's giving us as well. So the way that this is also quite different to how people have been searching historically is, before we would rely on our own expertise to search something on Google, and then we would basically select who we want to purchase from. Do we want this one? Do we want this one? Okay, I potentially like, this pair of trainers, or I'm going to go to another store because it looks a bit better. But I think now with Google's AI mode and ChatGPT, whatever results it's pulling out with us and whatever it recommends, we're kind of seeing that as the trusted brand and the trusted source. So we're putting so much trust into it, and we're seeing evidence of this, because the companies that we have helped to rank at the top of AI and ChatGPT, the conversion rates are far higher. So we are seeing that although there's less traffic on, say, ChatGPT, the conversions that businesses are getting from that are very, very high, a lot higher than when somebody's typing something into Google. So it shows that as humans, we're putting a lot of trust, as if we're speaking to another human, as if it's like as if I'm speaking to you, Tim, and I'm asking your recommendation on, do you know this realtor, for example? Do you know any good realtors in Dubai? And you're telling me, look, the best one is this particular real estate for these reasons. I'd recommend you go there. I've bought from them. They're great. And that's kind of how we're trusting the AI as well.
It's more and more a connection, isn't it? You feel more and more a connection. And I guess, it goes back to that feeling of, if you connect as a human being, if you feel like you connect, whether it's AI or human, people buy from people. And I wonder if that line's becoming more and more blurred. We're certainly being steered in that direction. Look, I've kept you a long time, Paris, but I do have one kind of final question for you. If a business wants to, businesses always talk about future-proofing, obviously, but if a business wants to do that today in SEO, AI-driven SEO terms, what steps would you say, right, you need to do this now?
I would say that be obsessed with answering customers' questions. So look at your business, look at your brand, look at why customers buy from you. Use AI tools to answer essentially those questions and start building content around that. So almost look at it as you've got a customer that's called you and they've called a salesperson, and everything that they would ask that salesperson, all the objections that salesperson would have, start looking at how you can start building content around that and start writing about that, because that's going to start getting you ahead of the curve to help your brand stand out from an AI point of view, because that's what Google's looking at now.
Right.
It's, just think of Google as we said, an answer engine, not a search engine. So the more answers that you can provide your customers, the more chance you're going to have of, being that recommended and trusted brand that AI is going to show. I would say another thing is look at improving the user experience of your website. So analyze your website, figure out, what you can do to implement on there as a way that customers are going to stay on there and buy from you. Don't just see it as, like we're talking about, don't just see it as a shop front, see it as a salesperson.
Yeah,
Do everything you can to make that user experience as good as possible. One of the basics being make sure it loads fast. If somebody's clicking onto your website and it's taking, 10 seconds to load, our brains now, they're just moving so fast that people are just not going to wait that long. They're just going to want to go on that website, find what they're looking for, and make a purchase.
Yeah, I got to admit, I'm with you. I'm gone. If a website doesn't load, I'm gone.
You're just going to go somewhere else. Whether that's on your phone or even on the computer.
It seems obvious, but it's a very good point.
It can just result in you losing a lot of traffic, a lot of customers, and you just don't want that. And the final thing I would say is, use AI and use that data in combination with a human. Don't let that human creativity, innovation, don't let that slide, especially if you're in a team environment where you've got this synergy of other people's ideas. Do use that, and do use those humans to then enhance that whole experience for your customer by using AI in combination with that human touch, because ultimately everybody now has access to particular AI tools, and that's also now becoming not good enough in Google's eyes, because if you're just shifting out loads and loads of content that is just created on an AI tool, Google's got its own AI algorithm which can pick up on this. So because everybody's now on the level playing field, you still need to make that content unique. So, humans are relying more and more on AI, but AI is trying to be more and more like a human. And it's about finding that balance to use both to use it to your advantage.
I'm so pleased we got the chance to talk to you. It's been really interesting. No, I mean that. Paris Raichura is the founder and CEO of digital performance agency PNDigital. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Tim. Appreciate it.
It's good to have you here. Don't forget, leave us a like, hit subscribe wherever you're joining us from. Get in touch. Let us know what you think. Remember, everything we do is available to listen or watch again. Just search Mira Business FM wherever you get your podcasts, your content from. This is Mira Business FM.